Hey fam, I'm at the park with my son. Hopefully this works. I brought my tripod so if I film, my phone doesn't fall all over the place like it usually does. Okay. So first I'm going to say that I have been receiving a lot of messages about the stories that I've been sharing about my prediction for this election. And so if you want to know what I'm receiving and keep up with that information, you have two options. You can listen to my stories, which is just a little bit of feedback, or you can join my Patreon and other people's content that I find relevant. And a lot of which is not appearing in the mainstream, by the way, because mainstream media is completely corrupt. But my point in sharing anything, and this doesn't have to do with this topic, but I just want to talk about it, that my point in sharing is that I am not here to be, Patreon is so worth it. Thank you, Angela. I'm so glad you think that. Is to be really loyal to the truth. And that's just that has always been my position. I have a very strong justice streak in me since I was very young. I don't like to see injustices or shade. I'm really pro clarity and transparency, and you can see that in how I share my life and how I talk about everything. So my position is going to be that one, and also like my own prophecy and my own channelings and the information that I receive. If you have been watching my stories since even before this election, you know the prophecy that I called. Everything that is happening now, I predicted was going to be happening before even election day. So I'm not changing that until I get new information. I'm also not changing my information based on current events. I haven't been told anything different, so I'm going to stick with that. So that's just a little bit of FYI about that. If I receive new information, if I channel a different thing, then I will always report it because I think that's important. But for now, this is what I've received. So this is what I'm rolling with. So watch my stories if you want more of that, or join the Patreon. Okay, so yesterday I shared a post asking about like 3 things that people think when they think about me. And one person shared about my style and how she feels like I have a really killer sense of style, which I found really amusing because no one's ever said that about me. And you know, I've always been really simple when it comes to clothing. Hi Cassie. When it comes to clothing and the way that I dress or the way that I decorate myself. Because one of the things that happens when you have ADHD, brow goals, you're so funny, Angela. When you have ADHD is you tend to get like decision fatigue really easily. You hit overwhelm really easily. And this happens to me in my personal life, it happens to me in professional life. It happens to me pretty much all the time. I can hit decision fatigue very, very quickly, especially when you're parenting and you're having to make a lot of shots for your kids as well as yourself, as well as your home. It's a lot. And so one of the things that I read a really long time ago about like high functioning CEOs is that they always wear the same clothes. Like by and large, they will have the same outfit on all of the time. And what's interesting is that the CEO of my company, of Beachbody, he is very much like that. He will always have like the same plaid shirt on. I swear that guy owns nothing but like short sleeve plaid shirts and like khaki pants, I'm pretty sure, or jeans. It's like his whole wardrobe. And so I started really looking into that. I was like, why is that? Why is it that that's like a common theme? Because you see it with Steve Jobs and Apple and a bunch of other executives, and it's well to prevent decision fatigue. Because science has shown us that after a certain amount of decisions that we make on any given day, we get tired and we don't make the best choices anymore for ourselves. So, you know, this doesn't discriminate between big decisions and small decisions. We get decision fatigue with any decision. So it's like if you can just streamline smaller decisions so you don't have to waste energy on them, you can preserve for bigger decisions. Angela said, I had a child to help make a decision. As soon as he was born, I would hold up 2 things and he would decide for me. Yes. So a lot of people struggle when they have a lot of options and they don't even realize that. But if you're someone that has ADHD or you're on the spectrum in any way, like it's even more amplified for people like us. And so simplicity has been a really key factor in my life for everything. Like when it comes to cosmetics, I buy the same cosmetics. I use the same type of cosmetics and have for like freaking years. I'm gonna wear eyeliner most likely. I'm gonna have mascara on most likely. I'm gonna have lip gloss on most likely, and some form of basic foundation. That's it. Don't wear eyeshadow. Don't like hardly will you catch me with anything different. I'm like brand loyal. I stick to certain brands. I streamline that decision when it comes to clothes. I've owned a lot of my clothes for a long time. Until they have holes in them or it gets so wore out they look ratty, I will not replace them. And I tend to shop in pattern and solid colors. I don't like patterns. When something I'm wearing has too many patterns, I get overwhelmed. It's like overstimulation. So you won't catch me in like florals or paisleys or anything like that because too much. So I might have like an accent piece like this headband has, but it's two tones. It's really simple. You know, like I do simplicity when it comes to my clothes, when it comes to my cosmetics, my beauty stuff, even my hair, everything is just really, really simple for me. And that transfers into other areas of my life too. So how I do this with food, for example, is I tend to eat the same things and I like very simple meals. You're not gonna catch one of my dishes having a million ingredients in it because I can't spend the time doing that. My meals are usually very simple, and this is a client that I also, hi Abby, this is a concept I also teach to my clients. It's like simple is best. When you're learning how to change the way that you eat, or you're learning how to change something like that in nutrition, because food can be such like a touchy subject, don't try to go for really fancy, ornate meals. Like keep things really simple and like organized, like protein, greens, carbs, like balanced and just simple, you know? Even if it gets a little bit repetitive. And I'll also, when I meal plan, I'll also eat the same things 2 days in a row. I'll eat the same meals 2 days in a row, and then I'll have different meals for 2 days, and so on and so forth. This cuts down on my having to plan for food, and this cuts down on my having to think about how much more I'm gonna eat. It makes it very, very simple for me. So that's how I do that with food. And one of the reasons that I like having a shake every day, like a multi-nutrients shake, is because that's one meal I don't have to think about. So that's just automatically planned into my day. I get all the things that I need, I move on with my life. So that's another reason why I like that so much. When it comes to fitness, the same thing. So I get decision fatigue when it comes to exercise. Like if I have to go someplace and think about what exercises I'm going to do, I'm already lost because I already am going to get overwhelmed. And maybe I can do it for 1 or 2 days in a row, but by that third day, I have fatigue over planning my own thing. So when I found programs that were filmed for me by trainers from beginning to end for 30 days, 60 days, 80 days, or whatever, that I could just show up, press play, and follow a calendar, I was like, hell to the yes. I don't want to think about what I'm going to do today. I want someone to tell me how I'm going to exercise, and I just want to show up, do the exercise, and get the benefit. So for someone like myself that gets decision fatigue easily or overwhelmed easily, the simpler your systems are to support you, the better. Even my spiritual rituals. Like I know people who do really ornate rituals, like the candle and the shell and the crystal and the incense and the, you know, they're just these really beautiful rituals. Like I can't practice like that. Like my spirituality is so basic, it's so stripped down because I need simplicity at every corner. It's not just about clothes and style, it's like everything. Abby says, oh yes, I pick a lunch for the week and pretty much eat that same lunch all week. Quick, easy, one less thing to stress over. Yes. But what I want to amplify in sharing this is like if you're someone who really struggles with this, understand that when you create simple systems, and my business, you guys, is the same way. I have a simple system for my business. I follow a checklist that's very simple. I give that checklist to everybody in my organization because to me, when you overcomplicate anything, it robs you of the ability to be creative or use your decision-making skills for other things that could be more important. So I like to streamline everything that I do in my life. And at first, being naturally disorganized and kind of a naturally messy person, which is also a creative attribute, and I tend to see in ADHD people as well, like we're just more naturally inclined to be that way. But what we fail to understand is that systems actually save us. If you can create a system, even if at first it feels foreign or it feels like inorganic, but you create it and then you just have it and it's super simple and it doesn't require you to think about too many options, you tend to outperform even people who might not have ADHD, might not have really hardcore decision fatigue, and have a more complex system. You will outperform them simply because the simplicity allows you to be more consistent. okay? And so this is something else that I teach a lot in business mentorship and in fitness. It's like, if you just do really simple things over and over again, just exercise every other day for 3 weeks. Just add in, you know, a shake that has fruits, vegetables, you know, whatever, and just drink that. Add that into your meal. Let's say all you're doing is eating fast food. Just add that into your meal every single day. If you just, you know, little things that you can tweak and do consistently will yield you a huge result. People really underestimate what happens with simplicity over time, right? And then they overestimate what you can do in an extended period of time, and they complicate themselves into reaching their goals. So as I have been navigating my own awareness of really being not neurotypical and having certain quirks about me that make me not function like people who don't have, you know, the same struggles that I have neurologically, don't have the same overstimulations, don't have the same, you know, need to control environments and things like that. I have really learned to embrace the concept of simpler is best. And that doesn't mean that every once in a while you're not going to go all out and make a super fancy meal or get dressed up and, you know, and do all of this stuff and all of this fun. There are times where I have enough bandwidth to do those things, but most of the time I do not, and that's okay. And in fact, the simpler and the more consistent, the better, every single time. So that would be my message for anybody who's really struggling to be like, oh, I get just so overwhelmed, and I get overwhelmed with dressing, and I get overwhelmed with, you know, starting routines and habits. It's like you're probably overcomplicating it. You're probably adding too many steps at once, and you're probably not taking into account how quickly you hit decision fatigue, which is really, really important. And if you're a parent, you guys, we hit that shit automatically. We get decision fatigue just waking up in the morning. Okay, because it's not just decisions for us, it's now decisions for our kids. And that is exhausting. It is exhausting to be a parent and to make a bunch of decisions for them, especially when you struggle with decisions for yourself. Like, that is problematic. So even make your parenting simple. Like, you know, if you're home and you're trying to homeschool, like, keep it really, really simple. Don't feel like you have to go all out and do all these things, and your kids just want your presence. They really just want you to be around them, to love them, to connect with them. Like, it really doesn't have to be this huge thing. But I don't know, I feel like somewhere along the lines, we as a society glorified complication and glorified like more of everything, like more cars and bigger house and more projects and more busyness and more, and as a result we become less present, less efficient, less effective, and less happy naturally. You know, so especially for those of us who are non-neurotypical, we're competing in a world that's not made for us. We're competing in a world that doesn't cater to the fact that we hit emotional overwhelm really fast, and guess what? Then we feel like losers because we are so overwhelmed we can't function in this world that was not even built for us, the structure that wasn't even supportive of us to begin with, you know. And we're not losers, and there's nothing wrong with us. We just need to know how to honor things that have been really de-glorified, you know. Go back to honoring simplicity, go back to honoring, you know, simple everything, simple food and clothes. And I think honestly the glorification of more and overstimulation has also led us into financial debt. It has also led us into unhappy relationships in our marriages and as parents. And then there's also the comparison component of that, where you are like obsessively striving to do more, accomplish more, have more, and then you complicate your life and you're comparing your life to other people's lives, and it's insane. It's insane. Who can stay grounded in a reality where that's the norm, you know? So this kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's all relative and related to the fact that simplicity is the answer, especially if you're not a neurotypical and you struggle with decisions and you struggle with feeling competent, which I think lots of us do, because we look at people who don't hit that wall of overwhelm as quickly and we're like, how the fuck are you doing life right now? Like, how are you doing all of that? How did you throw your 3-year-old a princess themed party and everything is like fucking perfect, including the cake. There's no mistakes. You decorated it like you hired a professional decorator, right? And like you have this like perfect home and it's never messy, and you have this like, it's like we look at those things and we're like, how are these people doing it? And we just don't understand. Our brains don't work the same way. They don't work the same way, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't have a life that feels rich and satisfying and accomplished. We just have to go about it a different way. And it has to be done with simplicity, right? The simple will yield the consistent, especially for people like us. So don't overthink your life. Simple, right? And find joy in the simple, and find joy in your simple, most importantly, I think. So that's my message for y'all today. That was on my heart to share because I thought it was so interesting that Jessica pointed out my sense of style, and I was like, I never really considered that I had a sense of style, but I guess I do. And it's like I rewear the same clothes all the time, so I don't, you know, I see women with like, honestly, I might have 10 pairs of shoes to my name. 10, maybe. And I only use like 3. I use the same 3 pairs of shoes all of the time. You know, the most variety I really have is I have 6 pairs of glasses, which someone else called me out on. Like, you have the best glasses. Like, I like changing up my glasses. Like, that's something that I like to do. And they're all organized, and every day, depending on my outfit, I'll pick one that I like. But simple is so good for me. You know, you learn how to get creative with what you have. You don't fall into debt trying to like have more clothes and more variety and more, like, you just learn how to honor yourself in a different way. It's so much more satisfying, I think. I'm gonna make a whole other visual. Yeah, these are all blue light as well. So all of my glasses, they're not just cute, but also they have blue light blockers. So they're designed for being on the screen. You know, that's why I have so many, because I also leave them in different rooms. I'm gonna make a different video talking about how my debt-free journey is going and like what I'm learning as I'm budgeting and working on that, because financial fitness is something that I'm becoming acutely like obsessed with. Like, not just teaching people about fitness and like health and keeping that simple, but financial fitness as well, and how to keep that simple but prospering at the same time. And I do think like the more that I sit with this process of getting out of debt, the more I think that part of what leads us into debt is the pressing need for more outweighing our truth, outweighing like what we are able to and capable of having. So when our constant yearning or striving that is artificially induced based on like commercials and comparison and all these things, when we are faced with that and it supersedes our own capacity to have something or generate a certain amount of money or generate whatever, then we end up going into debt in order to have the thing, which then yields us no real truly satisfying experience because we didn't earn that, you know? And we know that on like a subconscious level, we know that. So this is all tied together, and I'm starting to like really piece that together for myself, and so I'll be making another video on that soon. But anyways, just wanted to share this. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys soon.